Mr. T. Greg Doucette.
Give me a minute if you don't mind. Before I get started, I do want to say I think it was Miss Ashworth, I believe, that gave me a shout out for being a good example. Y'all got to do better than me. To my 103 people, y'all need to do better than me. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a speech that I had prepared last night. I printed it out. It's right here. It's about 4 pages long. And I'm not going to give it to you. The reason why is that as I was waiting downstairs, the copy machine was broke. And I was freaking out. My hands were like sweating. I'm shaking like, you know, a bowl of Jello with Parkinson's. It was just bad. And as I was waiting for someone to come down and fix the copy machine, a young lady who is in this room now, I'm not going to mention her name, but she walks up to me and she goes, "Greg, why are you even speaking? Why are you nervous? You know you got this locked up. Why is it such a big deal?" And y'all know how I get. That set me off a little bit. So I'm going to venture off script. We got the speech here. We're going to go ahead and crumble it up. I'm going to go off script for a bit. Y'all, this race is a big deal because the issues are a big deal. If you were to go down to Raleigh right now, the North Carolina General Assembly, you would hear from legislative leaders in the House of Representatives talking about cutting the university budget by $800 million. That's 30%. And the way funding is structured in North Carolina, for every 1% of public money you cut, you have to raise tuition by 3% to make up for it. Y'all do the math. A 30% cut, that's a 90% tuition increase on average. And y'all know as well as I do, there's not an average tuition increase. It ends up being tilted against graduate and professional students, us here in this room, because we've already got our bachelor's degrees. According to the legislators, we can afford it. So I ask you, to my 1Ls right now, what would you do if tuition doubled overnight? That's what, $9,000 a year times 2, $18,000? The state is billing you for a car that you're never going to get to drive. To my 2Ls over here, y'all are chuckling. That's what, $9,000 for y'all? That's your bar review course, your living expenses while you're studying, and money left over to go to the most expensive restaurant in Durham after you pass. That's it, exactly. That's in-state. If you're out of state, God help y'all. But even to my 3Ls, the gentleman sitting here, Chim over in the jury box, it affects y'all as well because your JD will say North Carolina Central University School of Law, a law school whose legacy is built upon reaching out to underserved communities. To y'all, I ask you, how many people in those underserved communities are going to be able to afford to come here if our tuition doubles without getting a doubling in value? The answer is not many. And when that's all we've got left, a legacy that we can't afford to tell people about, we're functionally no different from Chapel Hill. And when the time comes that the state is looking at budget cuts, and you've got 2 public law schools that no one can tell the difference between them, you think they're going to be thinking about shutting one of them down? You best believe it. And I'll tell you what, it's not going to be them. So while all the candidates up here have told you about what they are, I'm going to begin by telling you what I am not. All right? I am not a riveting orator. I don't expect y'all to be, you know, hunched over in your chairs, jaw on the floor, hanging on my every word. That's not me. I get riled up. I get passionate. Sometimes I fumble my words. That's how I am. Unlike some of my colleagues, I'm not that great a student. All of y'all have seen my grades. I'm smack in the middle of my class. I am not going to be anybody's legal scholar. And frankly, a lot of you know from experience, I'm not really a people person. When something reckless has been said, there's at least a 30-45% chance I'm the guy that said it. You can applaud. That's okay. Let's be honest. But y'all, what I am is an advocate. And the reason why I am here, even though I got this locked up, the reason why this is a big deal to me is because I need y'all to be advocates behind me. This law school needs advocates now, today, more than at any time in its history. So what this campaign is about eagle advocacy from the State House in Raleigh to the White House in D.C. and everywhere in between. What does that entail? Nationally, we need to make sure our trial advocacy team, our moot court team, our law reviews are on point. They need funding. They need coaching. They should be the ones distinguishing this school nationally. We need to be working through the ABA, make sure we got people in leadership. We need to work through your own organizations that have national affiliates and make sure y'all are in leadership with them. At the state level, we need to be down at the General Assembly talking with these legislators, telling them Don't cut our budget. Students cannot afford to be here if you're going to be taking away all this money. And it's not just them. The UNC Board of Governors sets the tuition rates. We need to be dealing with them saying, hey, don't jack our tuition by 90% in the course of a summer. And it's not just national, it's not just state. We need equal advocacy here. The president of the undergraduate student government under North Carolina law, he's a voting member on the board of trustees for this institution. When it came time to talk about a garage, time's up. My bad, I'm running long. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll yield to any questions, but I would greatly appreciate y'all's vote on Thursday. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Doucette?
Mr. Mitchell.
Okay. So first, I will be completely honest, Greg. I really appreciate working with you this past year. It's been an honor, honestly, to work side by side with you. So my question for you is, you see me scrambling around the office, making sure everything is situated with the help of you guys. What practical approaches do you have to making sure you're balancing whatever organizations you may be in, also with meeting with the administration on a daily basis, and also all the several emails and concerns from students that you have to abide by because they are the ones that you're representing?
To answer that question, I would say twofold. One, I'm slowly improving my ability to delegate. When I ran the statewide association of student governments, I developed a reputation of being a notorious micromanager. And because of that, I have less hair than I did then. So I need to work with my e-board. And frankly, I'm glad we got a team of all-stars from Ms. Boston for VP. You know, we got Ms. Mack as ABA rep, Ms. Phillips for secretary. We've got solid people in place that I know are going to do a good job. But beyond that, it's just a matter of making sure that you honor your commitments. You know, in your case, you're freaking out. You know, I'm sure I will be doing the same. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes time to handle business, you handle business. You know, my grades are not going to be that great this year because I was on the child advocacy team. And when I got back from one competition, they had a vacancy on another they needed filled. So I jumped right into another one. I'm so far behind in criminal procedure, I can't tell you what case we're on right now. But I'm less concerned about my grades and more concerned about making sure this law school continues to be here after I graduate. I can go to summer school, but there's only one North Carolina Central University School of Law, and if that disappears, we'll get them out.
Go ahead.
All right, you just stated a few seconds ago, I walked in late, sorry, that you're not a people person, and the whole purpose of an SBA president is to address and to take and address student concerns. So what kind of assurance would you give me and other people that should you be elected, if you're elected, how would my questions and my concerns be addressed?
When I say I'm not a people person, I don't mean I'm not going to listen to you. That's my job. What I mean is I've been known to be very blunt with my opinion, and I'll still be. If you bring me a concern that I can help you with, I'm going to help you. If it's not something I can help you with, I'm going to tell you, hey, I can't help you. I'm not going to make false promises because I want to please you. You know, a lot of folks around here think I'm a little rough around the edges. That's true. And I'm just forewarning all of you, I'm going to be open to your concerns. I want to make sure I'm addressing what y'all need to get addressed. But in doing so, I need y'all to take me as I am. That I'm going to be rough around the edges when you come talk to me. But you've got my word here today that I'm going to address your concerns when they come up. I gave y'all my word last year when I ran for treasurer. I kept my promises to you. I'm going to do that here too.
You spoke about budget cuts, and there are some cuts that took place also this year. We need money. Mm-hmm. What do you plan to do in working with Brian to make sure that we have the funding? Because when it comes to the organizations and when it comes to the classes, it's not just about the classes and the organizations raising money. It's about us being able to get funding from the school based upon the student fees that we paid but we're not able to use. What's your plan?
For that one, I'm going to be honest with you. That's a pickle. And what Ms. McDowell is referring to is that you pay two separate fees in terms of student activities. You have a student activity fee that goes to the undergraduate campus for programming, and you have a law school student activity fee that we keep here to give to organizations. And what occurred at some point, at some indeterminate point in the past, was that main campus got tired of reviewing our requests for that student activity fee money they keep. So what they said was, here, y'all keep it. Y'all give it to y'all's groups. So we had about $250,000 each year. That money was taken away this year, and I don't know that we're ever going to get it back. My strategy in terms of what I'm going to try, I'm already working with Dean Morgan and the undergraduate student government to try and get in the process of sending them requests as well. And I'm planning on talking with the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. Is that going to work? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not optimistic. But I will do everything I can to make sure we get that money back. And the alternative, I would love to work with Brian and work with these other groups on individualized fundraising. There's no reason the only way we make money is through a bake sale. We should be approaching outside companies for sponsorships. We should be asking alumni to chip in. There's all sorts of stuff that we can do that a lot of us are too busy with classes to do. So I'm like, hey, clearly I don't care about my GPA. Let's do it. Any other questions? All right. Was that? I mean, I'm going to graduate. I'm not worried about, look, my grandmother will kill me if I don't. But, look, y'all, I'm going to tell you this. The first person to cross that stage is going to become a lawyer. The last person to cross that stage is going to become a lawyer. Your GPA going to matter for your first job. After that, y'all going to forget. So that's my 2 cents. True enough. All right, any other questions before I let y'all go? Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it. Again, T. Greg Doucette on Thursday. Thank you.